Okay, hello everyone, welcome back to the Pear Pod. Thank you for joining us again. Thank you for the support on the last episode with Simo. Definitely have Simo back on again. That was it was an emotional experience. Today I'm joined by the founder of Cut and Sew Barbers in Dublin, Sean Bryan. Sean, thank you for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Not at all. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to this chat.
So I try to make it a point to not ask the same questions I've seen, like you've done in interviews and stuff like that, and try to get into like different areas where I can, but at the start it's difficult because we need to hear like your story. But from what I saw, the originality of you getting into barbering, you actually transitioned from hairdressing into barbering, and you hairdressed in Blackrock.
It was a salon called Tony and Guy on the main street, and I started my hair journey there when I think it was about 20 years old. So yeah, 16 years ago.
Fresh pup.
Maybe 19, I don't know. But yeah, it was quite a long time ago now that I look back at it.
And why was it like you look at the barbering scene now in Dublin, it's grown immensely, even from where I started getting haircuts to now. Like I started getting haircuts in Sporting Cuts or something like that, and now there's this huge industry. What was the industry like when you first wanted to transition into it?
So I might have some clickbait content for you. That when I started out, there was no cool barbershops, and I was doing hairdressing purely because I actually was a carpenter before becoming an apprentice hairdresser. Post Celtic Tiger kind of kicked in, and I ended up becoming unemployed. And what am I going to do? What industry am I going to go into? I have no interest in hair. And I used to get my hair cut in Tony and Guy in Blackrock, and I was, this is amazing. It was like £30. I think the euro hadn't kicked in.
And that's premium at the time. Like that's...
Yeah, it's premium. But for like in considering like your local barbershop would have charged £10, £15.
10 for a skin fade. I remember paying 10 for a skin fade before.
I don't think there was a skin fade was on the menu.
Maybe not. It was V's back in the day.
It was V's and spicy mullets. And then what happened was, I don't know, I just kind of enjoyed the job. And yeah, 16, 18 years ago, things had changed, and I didn't have a light bulb moment, but there was no cool male area avenues to go down for a haircut or a skin fade or V's or mullets. And the Grafton Barber, who are not paying me to say this at all, but they were prevalent, and they were the most spoke about or talked about brand because they were in every town. And the clickbait might be that I'm like, I love what they do in terms of business, but I don't like their business. Yeah. And they were in every town. I was like, God, everywhere I go I see a Grafton Barber. Every town I pop into, every area I go to. And I was a hairdresser, not a barber, so I actually applied for a job with the Grafton Barbers. This is going to go viral. And I think I spoke to one of the founders, and I think they didn't pie me, so to speak, but it was very casual way of dismissing me and like, oh, can you come in and do this? And I couldn't because I was a hairdresser. And I was like, I just got a bit of a feeling that this wasn't for me. You know, it was the way it was done. It was a phone call talking to me, this big, huge brand. And I was like, wow, okay. I kind of was actually a bit excited that I spoke to one of the owners, and I'm sure that they will hear this. And I was like, I was very appreciative that they got back to me and said, can you do this? Can you do that? And I couldn't actually probably do what they were asking. I couldn't do fades, which is probably what Cut and Sew is most known for, the skin fade.
It's wild, isn't it?
It's wild.
Yeah.
So wow. Very good question. I didn't even think about that.
And I saw in one of your interviews that you'd actually seen a barbershop, I think abroad, that had like pool tables and stuff like that, and you were like, that's kind of like the vibe you want to set for Cut and Sew when you did open it. It was that kind of aesthetic.
Yeah, there was actually these guys from Rotterdam called Schorum, which translates to scumbags. So I don't know why I resonated with that. And they had set up like a male only barbershop at the time. But it was more the rock and roll. The water bottles were empty Jack Daniels bottles, and they put their water into it, and it was like a tattoo shop kind of vibe. And you'd go there. There was no appointments. The music was pretty cool. They had like an old like 1950s fridge and they give everyone a beer, or sometimes they'd actually give them a whiskey. There was ashtrays on the table, and it was very sexy, so to speak, aesthetic. And I goes, whoa, this is not like fancy Tony and Guy, pristine, clean cut, salon vibes. And I goes, I don't like the salon vibes. I like this musky tattoo shop, kind of grimy. Come on in, what's up? Like, there'd be people from all walks of life. There was the guy that swept the road. There was the guy that was maybe a pilot, and there was a guy that was maybe, who knows, a multi-millionaire. There was no crypto guys back then, but I liked the vibe.
Don't talk to me.
Yeah,
Don't talk to me about crypto.
None of them rich crypto guys.
No. Well, I'm keeping cool hands here. Keeping cool hands. It's gonna pump. I want to give you a compliment actually. Cut and Sew is probably one of maybe two brands in Ireland that I could go in and be like, I can get a haircut off any of the individuals here. You know, typically like in old school, you go to a barber and you be like, I'll have Jason, and they'd be like, well, I'm over here. Like, I'll wait for Jason. But now in Cut and Sew, particularly, especially in Dundrum, which was like my local shop, I used to go to. I used to get butchered in a couple of places in Dundrum, and that place opened. I won't even say.
There's no need.
And then. But going into Cut and Sew, like there'd be such a variety of stylists and like guys to cut, and it would just be, I'm next, and I got
barbers,
same quality. What did I say?
Stylists.
That's from Bloom on stuff. Yeah. And there'd be barbers, like variety of lads. I probably got cut by 6 or 7 different guys, and quality was always really, really good. So, what is your thought process when you're hiring and looking for guys?
So it's
girls.
Yeah, it's very different to the rest, and I think that's why we do stand out. A bit of a motto that we use is, you don't work for us, you work with us. And no other industry in the 10 years that we've been open seems to get that, or has got that, or has verbally or spoke about openly on social media. Like, I knew years ago when I seen barber wanted in the window, that's not the way it's done. So what we look for is generally somebody that's maybe a customer, or someone that has done one of our workshops, or that's organically come through the shop, that has happened. Like, a reason why we don't have TVs in the shop and PlayStations and dartboards is because we actually...
VR and all.
Yes.
And a restaurant over here today. Come in, guys. You're like, come on.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
What are we doing? And it's like, we actually used to call it a social club, because I'm heavily tattooed. I actually loved going into the tattoo shop where I used to get tattooed every other week, and the guys were like, they were like the DJs to me, because I love music. I'd be like, oh my god, that's that famous tattoo artist, and he's talking to me. That's the owner, he's the famous owner. And I would be like, whoa. And they would acknowledge you, so they would see that you come in and support, get a tattoo there, whether it be something as cheesy as some of the stuff I have, or some of the cooler stuff. So when we would see these cool kids coming in, I goes, there would be a spark and a conversation that would happen, and I goes, okay, this person's very interested in this shop or brand now, and I could see like a natural spark. Oh, they're interested in maybe becoming a barber. They like what we do. They're in here every week, and they mightn't have the nudge to say, is there any jobs, or how do we go about it? So we created an academy, which was kind of a nice way to get to know them and have that awkward conversation. And it's something that's stuck to us, or stuck with us over the last 10 years, that we do an academy every month, and anyone that comes in and gets a haircut, we kind of have a very open conversation to see if they want to join the Cut and Sew family. And lo and behold, without blowing our own horn, we become the largest independent barbershop in Ireland, in Irish history. It's actually never happened by a milestone. So I'm very humble, but I'm also very proud.
Well done. That's huge.
Thank you.
One of the in one of the interviews I read, it said you opened your second location on Wellington Quay. Is that where it was? Yeah. And it was like, that was a punt for you at the time. You were like, this is like it's a bigger location. You had like competition across the road, and you kind of looked at that as soon as the second shop worked, you were able to open 3 and 4 quite quickly. What did you look at when you're looking at a location like that? You've
done your research. I like it. Wow.
Yeah, they just man, all the comments are just like, Sean, shut the fuck up.
No,
do your research. Like,
not at all. That's insanely well thought out research. So yeah, so we had a shop which was thriving. We ran out of space. I have still not seen in 10 years, and I would love to motivate people, or even people that have worked or come through cut and sew, to be motivated, go, I want to do better than that. And we had just done something that has never been done before. I actually, in my heart, I don't feel it will be done again in my lifetime, purely because Instagram had happened or had started, and we just so happened to clicked. We were on the YouTube buzz. We were growing on YouTube. And when I opened, there's a little small story. When I opened the first shop, a client of mine told me not to get too big. It won't work. Keep it safe. He kind of was like, you don't want to ruin what you have. And I remember there was like an intuition, or there was something that clicked in my mind. I said, hang on there, this guy has set up in a different industry, like kitchens or food spots, that didn't work. And I goes, why am I even considering taking this guy's advice? So I said, I believe in it. I kind of knew the risk versus reward. And there was a particular shop or chain of shops that were really nice to me when we were literally started at the bottom. And I used to go to them when I started to get haircuts to be nice. And as soon as I got the hunger and looked at the location on the Keys, which was not in a basement, had a big window. Like, there's a picture of me on the Instagram outside looking in. It's super motivational. Like, I'll look back at it in 20 years and be like, I could literally envision the next move. And you can see the old brand, which was actually a sewing shop. So it's funny that we're called Cut and Sew. Yeah. And we messaged them. I didn't message them. I walked in, and credit to myself, I walked in and was like, is this place, because I had a to let or whatever sign on it. And the guy was like, yeah, we're looking to sublet or to get rid of this lease. And we went in, and the guy ended up giving us the landlord's details. We got the landlord's details. He said, let's strike up a deal. And Cut and Sew on the Keys became the biggest boom ever. So the biggest risk we took was going from one shop to two, which anyone that listens or watches this will know the struggle is in any business, probably, but I only focus mainly on me, is that going from one to two is the hardest step you can make. And I even from our conversation, I would love people to get that snippet to be like, whoa, like when you have something that's working perfect, to then risk yourself going from one to two, to diluting the magic quality. If you can do two, I think you can do 20. But I don't want to dilute the magic. So that's why we're at shop 6. But going from 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 has happened super organically. But you need to maybe figure out that magic sauce. And that's why now I'm a business coach. And I actually do want people to grow, because I don't fear any other brand or any other barber shop. That's not how it is. I don't think that's the right mindset. And from chatting to people like yourself and guests of the podcast, I'm like, no one else that's successful, in my opinion, thinks about anyone else apart from what they can see or what they're in power of.
It's, first of all, congratulations. 6 shops is fucking wild. That's sick. It'd be interesting. I always try to ask all my guests about what their typical day looks like, because your day must have completely changed now from, like, you know, first shop to now you manage 6 locations. Like, are you just jumping around the city all the time? Are you still cutting? Do you get to, like, do you prioritize getting a few cuts in a week anyway, and that's still a priority of yours, and then it's, you know, managing them and then looking for other properties and looking to expand? Like, what is your day looking like? I'm just going to check the camera quickly one second.
Of course, no problem. I can still keep speaking. My day has totally flipped. The typical day of Sean used to be fully booked, turning away clients, from doing 16 30-minute haircuts a day, every day, 5 days a week. And the reason why we grew was there was so many people actually getting turned away, that's how we had to grow the business and add more sections and spaces in the shop. And when there wasn't any more space, if you couldn't knock a wall down, we had to go and get another property. And I feel very lucky, because a lot of people now can't seem to fill one shop, let alone try and knock down walls and compromise certain areas of the building to allow the business in. So in a small way, I feel very, very lucky to be able to grow the business. And my day to day now, I actually had to not work in the business and work on the business. And I say it all the time on social media, and people, I feel kind of, they don't get me. And I'm, you know, like if you talk to
same man,
yeah, you know, when you're passionate about something and you're like, why are they not getting it? And then there's about I don't know, a lot of people that I follow and that follow me, and I have a very small following, I think, in my opinion, but it's a great reach. The organic reach is huge. And I'm like, these are all business owners, and I'm like, they're not getting it. They're like fully booked in my industry doing haircuts. I'm like, you're not growing your business. And I've become a coach more so than just a barber. But humbly, I am. That's all I do with day to day is cut hair. And I love doing it. But my day to day is, I would say, if you're into percentages, is 20% cutting hair.
Fuck. Okay. So it's
maybe less. And it's
wow.
And I mean, and it's funny that it's cutting. So if you want to call it success, I keep on doing this.
You're very animated with your hands like me. I need to make, that's why I have to consciously do stuff, because I'll be up here and I'll be knocking stuff.
Yeah.
I have to try and do stuff with it.
But the day to day is, I do put in a lot of hours, and it's funny. I'm delighted to be on this podcast and have a chat with you, because I'm like, I haven't really spoke about what has changed. I'd love to actually look back and be like, when was I actually last lucky to be a guest on the podcast, and be like, whoa, you know, I haven't really thought about that. So I've just been so, you know, you're just in the it's like a snowball's just rolling. You're just keeping going, going, and it's great to be. I'm at a landmark part of my life to have hit 10 years in cut and sew. But the last 6 months, I've been the most focused I've ever been, and since the start, I'd love to know Sean and to have documented me 10 years ago. Like, what was I thinking? Podcasts weren't a thing, and now I'm like, holy shit, I actually get to recap and document, which is so important. You know, content is key. To be like, oh my God, I didn't realize I was doing 6 days a week, 16 haircuts a day, 6 days a week. I think I never took a holiday longer than a week, and I only took 2 weeks holidays for as long as I can remember. So when people now are like a hustler, entrepreneur, they're cutting in the shed, I did 6 days a week, and there was no flexing on the gram back then. And I'm like, you know what? I think there's a bit of a secret to success in the graft, and people, they don't want to do it. And I see all these videos and snippets, which we love, and I'm like, they're so actually right, and they're very simple. It's consistency. It's, if you're not passionate about it, it won't work. And my day today, I love it. I'm so ritual when it comes up. I'm up at like, I'm up at like 7 or 8, and I'm like, which is kind of late to a lot of people who I follow. Mate,
don't even I would consider myself an early riser compared to some of my mates. So my alarm goes off at 7. My missus gets up. She gets up straight away. I'll roll. I'll snooze it once, and I'll get up by 20 past, and we'll go to the gym. Like, I have mates that who have to be in work for 9, and it's a 45-minute commute. Their alarm's going off like 8, and they're like, oh fuck me, and then like roll into some clothes, fall out the door, and I'm like, but then you see the lads being like, you go to bed at 8, you're up at 4 a.m.
You're at the gym by 8:45.
An hour of prayers. You're like, okay, get the prayers in, and then it's gym 2 hours, eat, gym again, and then grind for 10 hours. And you're just like, I think the beauty, you even said it yourself, the beauty with like putting time into stuff when you love it and it's your passion and you enjoy every part of it. Like for me today, when you were like, can we do the pod about 8:30? Like there was no hesitation for me at all, because I enjoy doing this. So there's no part of me that's going to be like, Jesus, 8:30. Like there's no part of me like that. It's like, great, we get to get it in this week. So it's do you miss the cutting at all, or did you burn yourself out so much doing so many that the little bit, when you get to do a couple a week, it's just an enjoyable thing to do?
So it's really good, and I'd love to kind of talk to people about it. Some people take offense that I can't cut their hair, and when they see the owner on the bio, the booking link bio, they think he's better, he's more experienced. Oh my God, I'm fussy with my hair, and I really need to have the owner. So I've actually tried to outprice myself, and I'm actually too nice a guy, because when you go back down to the core of Sean, I'm Sean, who's a barber by trade. I'm all of these other things, but I understand the value of money. And that's what I think is a bit of a beauty with myself and Cut and Sew. We haven't done a price increase in 4 years because I still walk around the city. I cut hair. I know how much the local, this is what support local is a huge slogan I stand by. I know how much my mom gets paid. My dad just retired from the army. He's a chef. He's a world class chef. He's won awards within the Irish Republican, not in the Irish Republican Army, but within the Irish Army.
Everyone's got to eat.
Yeah, everyone's got to eat. Not the IRA, not the IRA. But he worked for 43 years in the army, and within the Irish Army, he's won awards. And I know how much he values money. So when I think of how lucky I am to be charging what I charge for a haircut, and I see all these American guys and the rappers flying over barbers and 200 quid a haircut, and the celeb barbers, I'm like, that's not for me. Like, there's a couple of people who I would love to cut their hair, but I would nearly feel awkward. Like, I get very shy for such a, I would call a social person. I actually get very shy. I'm just like, I don't know, I'm going off track there a little bit, but what was the question a little bit?
Well, I'll come back to that
Yeah.
one. Now that you mentioned it, who would be, if you could have like someone you could of all people you could cut hair, whose hair would you like to cut?
I like to push the bar and then push it a little bit. I think most people in Ireland would like to cut Rob Lipsett's hair. Thank God I've done that. He's a legend. He's one of the nicest guys ever. Dermot Kennedy, I've cut his hair years ago. Humble beginnings, super nice guy. He, I think, goes to a guy that used to work with us, Jay, who's a lovely, lovely guy. But then I think, who's bigger? Like McGregor, I'd say it's mixed opinions. I'd love for this to hit McGregor and be like, you know what, kid, pop over or whatever, pop at 12. But I want to think bigger. I want to think David Beckham. I want to think Leo DiCaprio.
That's the big Beckham would be a lovely one because he's got beautiful hair, man. Oh.
I just think look at the tattoos. I was a massive football fan as a kid. I think, like, who would I think is a nice guy? Like Tom Hanks, Leo DiCaprio. Leo DiCaprio. I think I can see myself getting into film and styling hair, because someone seeing what we do and go, oh my God, this Irish guy. I feel like, not Mark Wahlberg. I feel like that would be a nightmare. I couldn't.
You come over at 3:45.
Yeah, he'd be like, 3:45 haircuts. I'd be like, I'm just awake, Marky Mark. So I don't know. Yeah, Beckham. Beckham, not the kids. I think David Beckham is someone. Leonardo DiCaprio. Let's put it out there.
What would your? I always find it interesting because every barber kind of has different answers. What's your perfect amount of chat when you're cutting someone's hair? Like if you're cutting Beckham's hair, if he just wants to, like if he's just looking down at his phone, or he's just chilling, are you just chilling for the whole thing, or do you?
No.
You'll
%1,000,000% no.
Yeah.
I'm like, no. If anyone that is a client of mine or knows me, and it's not to my detriment, to my success, it's like you should make the person in the chair feel like an absolute VIP, regardless if they are a VIP or not. Sometimes the biggest personalities and the most successful or famous people in the chair are actually the nicest, and I think they don't want to talk about what it is that they do. And if it's music, if it's sports, if it's entertainment, I think you bring it down to a personal level. And anyone that I've had the pleasure of cutting their hair, they like to talk about the day-to-day stuff. So I keep it easy breezy. You know, if you get Michael Jordan in the hair, well, in the chair, he's no hair. He's bald.
It'd be a quick cut. Yeah.
It'd be a quick cut. You're not going to go like, oh my God, I've seen that Netflix documentary. Like, tell us about that. So anyone that's in the chair, I think, make them feel like a regular person. And I feel like I'm a regular barber because, like, you know, you're paying me to cut your hair. You're the same person as the next person, and I treat everyone the same. It's all the same price. You know, it's a very humbling experience. So that's why the celebrity barber thing, if somebody was saying, can you come out to my house or hotel to cut my hair for €1,000, I'd probably consider for
You jump
€1,000
out for a grand.
For a
Like, I'll be
grand.
there, mate. I'll be there. Don't you worry.
And there's a few people that I'd be like, but I actually really like the people who are quote, I don't keep them as quote unquote famous or wealthy. You know, they pay the same price or they tip. You know, it's very nice. And there's one or two people in Cut and Sew that we don't charge, but they give us more, like very few, and it's actually out of, I don't know, I just think thank you for coming in. The people, I won't name names, but the barbers in the shop that cut the hair, like, oh my god, I can't believe you came in, that's amazing. And I think that's worth more than the price we charge for a haircut.
Ryan Tuberty.
No, Tubbs, never Tubbs.
He's got a.
I would like to do. I wouldn't feel nervous doing Tubbs.
He's got a lovely like flicked back look, little quiff. You
Little
get to
Morrissey
play with it a
vibe.
little bit, yeah. In terms of this is just interesting for myself. You spoke in. I don't want to I keep saying interview, but it was an interview.
Yeah.
You spoke about how you saw like haircuts in like Mad Men that kind of was like inspiring your idea for
Very
cuts.
much so.
And like what other, I'm just thinking for me, like shows that I watch, obviously like Peaky Blinders, Brad Pitt and Fury. Do you remember like
You've done your research.
yeah, like that. So that one for me, when I saw Brad Pitt and Fury with the skin fade and then brush it back, I was like, that shit is, and like I had loads of mates trying to do it. My hair's too thick to get the quiffness back. But what other ones did you see that kind of were like trends or shows you saw that kind of inspired new looks?
There's a movie coming to mind, which I can't think of now. Bruce Willis is in it. Mila Jovovich is the Fifth Element.
Yeah.
And Gary Oldman is the guy in the movie that has the craziest hair. Chris Tucker, excuse me, has these crazy hairs. Like when I see a movie, I'm automatically drawn to the hair and the styling. And I think Jean-Paul Gaultier designed all the costumes in Fifth Element. Bruce Willis, I think, had hair in it, but not good hair. So I'm a big movie fan. I love movies. Anyone that knows me knows I'm in the Stella every other week. I'm in the Stella on Sunday morning to watch The Goonies at 12 o'clock. Girlfriend is like, we're going to the cinema at 12. Like, you're getting me up on our day off. I'm like, yep. And she's like, cool, okay. So movies to me, like anyone, I love Prohibition era films, which you've kind of covered. What is the TV show? Boardwalk Empire, which is Michael Pitt actually has the more iconic slick back pre-Peaky Blinders. Any hair nerds will know he had the zero on the back and sides. He kind of has these fish lips, blondie kid at the time, and it's like really, really greasy rocker, like doesn't give a shit.
Like Russell, like one of those brands.
Like Russell.
Like, yeah.
And they love it. But Peaky Blinders is now the really good TV show. It's not my favorite, but yeah, Mad Men was a great example because I used to go to a shop called the Waldorf on Westmoreland Street, and I used to get the pomade slick back haircuts, but it doesn't suit my forehead, which is a 6 head.
Yeah. What time were we at there? Yeah, we'll just reset the cameras quickly, lads. Be back in 1 second. Okay, we're back. What's going on? Sorry about that. People are probably getting tired of me having to cut every 30 minutes, but it's the world we live in, and I'll upgrade the gear one day. So in terms of, you've talked a lot about you didn't have any kind of, I guess, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
It seems like you've almost got a blissful, I don't want to say naivety, but just a confidence that things are going to work out, and if you put your time into it, it's going to work, and you don't overthink about the potential negative implications of a decision you make, and you're like, you have full faith in yourself that you can achieve what you want to achieve. Would you agree with that?
What's coming to mind straight away is when I started out, I cut hair, I made a good wage, and to anyone that is just a barber or that cuts hair, cutting hair for the amount of time that you do is, I think it's a good wage. It's an honest wage. I think of myself when I go back to Sean that just cut hair like a bricklayer or a carpenter, a tradesman, you know, I don't think it's, or a craftsman, an electrician, a mechanic. And my dad always goes, how do you have so much like self-belief? And I goes, I don't know if it's self-belief, but I'm like, if it all failed tomorrow, I could cut hair. I have the skill set to cut hair and to make a good wage per week. So anyone that is just cutting hair every week, that sees all these like flexes and bling or whatever you want to call it, like that's all that's irrelevant if you're happy and content and you work, 48 weeks of the year, you get 4 weeks holidays paid for by your employer, and you're happy and you can buy a house, you can buy a car, you can do all that. I don't worry, because if one shop didn't work or failed, so what? Like, I can still cut hair, I can still live, I can still like rent, maybe not rent somewhere that I want to rent, but I can just cover my costs. And I don't know, I like to keep grounded to that moment where I'm like, I'm still a barber, or just a barber. And we did a documentary called Not Just a Barber Shop when we hit 5 years in business. And I goes, you know what, it's a nice time to document the success, if you call it that, at the time. And then the 10-year party we just did, we did a barber event, the first of its kind in Ireland. It sold out. We sold out the Sugar Club. We probably could have sold it out 2 times over. And that has now sparked us to do an annual show. And we're looking at the same venue and another venue to accommodate the traffic. And it's, if it didn't work out, I would be happy cutting hair like I do some days of the week in cut and sew. And for all went tits up, I would work elsewhere, but I would want a good wage.
Would you say, just interesting, would you say you're a materialistic person, or you get like fulfillment from being able to make purchases like that? Because it seems from the impression I get, you're awfully well grounded, and like being grounded like that, and even talking about how you're not afraid or worried about the possibility that if one day I had to go back to just honest barbering, I'd be happy to do that. I think that almost gives you so much power to be. So many other people, countless people, are terrified to take that next step, because the fear of not achieving it is more than their will to actually go and try it. So are you motivated by those things, or what is it that motivates you?
Whoa. Insane question. That's insane.
That was a mouthful. That was a mouthful.
So, whoa, no. And you know what? As a kid, we all wanted the best Nikes, or in my case, Lacoste tracksuits, or whatever it is.
Fuck yeah.
I know, like I'm an OG now, I'm 36.
I had a camouflage double New York Yankee one that I wore all the time. It was horrific. It was tan camouflage.
Mark Echo K Swiss.
That was big.
I had the fake bling watch with I think I got on Moore Street or Henry Street.
Go to Argos and get one of the pendants or something.
Yeah,
like, get it.
Half price jeweler. Shout out to anyone that's my age. No, I'm not materialistic, and it's a fucking great question, because this year, when I hit 10 years in business, I bought my first Rolex.
Nice.
And it's a very humble watch, and it was my most expensive purchase. For anyone that sees it, I might be like, oh my God. Like, even piece of clothing, I bought the odd Stone Island piece, never bought Canada Goose or Montclair, or I actually bought a Gucci t-shirt about 4 years ago, and it was €300. And I remember buying it. We were in Zico. It was a Christmas party. I was like, oh, what do I buy? I want to look.
It's got Jaeger all over it. No, fuck.
The label fell off. I was like, I was green. It just said Gucci. It was the biggest Gucci t-shirt I've ever seen. And I remember thinking, is this what success is to me? And it so wasn't. And I see everyone doing this. And as a matter of fact, I don't wear many big labels, if any. And I always said a Rolex isn't for me, a Range Rover is for me, or fancy cars. And then my thought changed, because there's a lot of milestones you get to. And then when you surpass them, which if you're lucky enough to surpass, you're like, okay, what's next? So I see why people might want the fancy car, the fancy watch, the fancy house. It actually doesn't matter to me. And I had a conversation today with my best friend, and we were looking at a jeweler's. We're in Dunleary. A friend of mine, Jono, I have 2 best friends, but Jono was there, and he was looking at a watch, and the watch was 150 quid. And I goes, it's a beautiful watch. I bought a Gucci watch years ago, and it was €795. But I actually used some of my One for All vouchers towards, and I was like, and I actually felt like that watch was the most expensive Rolex. So to me, it represented something that I'd worked hard for. I knew how many hours I'd worked to purchase that watch. And I was like, I felt great. But then as I've grown in business or hanging around with super successful business owners, I've changed my circle massively in the last year. I'm like, okay, it's not like a status symbol. I got the Rolex that I liked. I went into Cullen and Co. and into Charlie. Shout out.
Is that a nice day?
It was.
It's a nice day.
It's a nice day. Swiss Watch Club. We might get a snippet and Charlie might give us a discount.
Did you know what you were getting going in, or were you like, I'm going to go and...
No, I went in and got...
Flirt with me.
I went in and was like, well, totally. I was like, this isn't my pay grade. And he had a chat with me and it was an experience. It's like anyone that's flown... to me, a monumental moment was flying business class. And I haven't flown first, but whatever, I'm not too keen if I do, but if I do get the free upgrade, I'll be happy. But when you go first class, anyone that has done it or has been upgraded knows it's very hard to turn right on the plane when you go to economy or premium economy, when you've had the champagne or orange juice, when you go left.
I only go right, man. And it's always... It's
not at all.
It's always a fucking bodybuilder and his wife in the 2 middle seat. You're like, ah. And then you have to like, because I booked the window seat. I'm like, I always get it.
I'm not moving. And
you get the people who are like, I'm like, you have to be like, excuse me, I think you might be in here. And you're like, do I have to move? You're like, well, kind of yes. And like, I'll say it because the middle's not happening for me.
Not happening. But sorry. Yeah, to me, I've actually, in the last couple of weeks, I've sold some of like the old like Stone Island bits I've got, or Arctrex or whatever brands. I'm just like, I don't need much, so I'm not massively. And sorry, to get back to the story today, I was looking at this watch, and a thing I do recently on my Instagram stories is actually any client that's in my chair, if I feel comfortable enough to ask them, I goes, can I have a look at your watch? And I post it, whether it's an OG watch. I had a client of mine had a 20 grand watch on, which is, to my knowledge, the most expensive watch. I had a guy that was like, this is like €50. And so I kind of want to start a trend of just showing clients what watch they're wearing. And I got this particular watch as a symbol to me of like, you know what, I have enough funds, or it's just it's like a landmark, 10 years in business to buy a watch that is on the cheaper scale of Rolexes, by the way, to just be like, you know what, I can be in this part of the club, because I do think of myself as a success. I think not enough people are too like, oh no. And it was like, it wasn't a status symbol. I don't flash it. I don't try and be like, I don't get it's the least blingy watch, you know.
How you doing, lads? That's it there. You need the time.
And it's like, I'm doing driving lessons at the minute, and I'm like, of course I could hire, purchase or rent the flashiest car or Range Rover or G-Wagon, and I'm like, I think I'm a bit more humble than that and grounded too. If I lost it all, what's good? And I'm only starting to become a businessman 10 years in, because I've messed up, I've lost businesses, you know, I've been in bad situations, but I'm very lucky to have I think the DNA that I do from my mum and dad, hardworking, nothing was handed to me, self-made. And I'm like, I was even thinking today, back to the story for the third time, I might sell the watch. I don't really need it. I felt just as good, if I'm honest, with the Gucci watch, you know, which was like so little, so like such a, I don't know. I felt there's little things that I'm like, you know, I feel just as good with that watch as I did to a watch that's X amount of times more expensive. And it's, what does it matter? I really didn't believe it. So maybe when I get the G-Wagon, or I don't know, a fancy car, I'll be like, you know what? I feel pretty good. So you might see me in a Volkswagen Polo, or you might see me in a G-Wagon.
There's a subtle beauty to a Ford Fiesta. Do you know what I mean? There's you know, there's nothing sexy, but you get a new Bluetooth.
There's nothing sexy.
Well, but like I have a Honda that actually was just got out of the shop there. I got told the alternator was gone, and it actually wasn't. It was a wiring issue. So it went from like a 300 quid problem to like a 50 quid problem. And man, I got back into that car yesterday and I drove it home and I was like, fuck, I love this thing. Bought it for 1,200 quid 4 years ago, and it's still humming along, not a bother on it. So I like, the only thing that gets me motivated, I'd love to have a really nice house. I don't, the car thing, the car thing doesn't matter to me. And not even a huge house, a nice house with like a good space, good living room. Because I'm living in a cottage in Rialto right now. So like,
nice.
And it, 3 rooms. So you eat, you sit and watch TV, and then you go to bed. But it's like, I love it. It's my favorite place I've lived so far.
I presume the other room is a toilet.
There is actually.
There is actually.
It's actually the luxury.
Someone
model.
else is living in there.
It's a bit of a. That room is like you go in. It's probably the same size as out about here. But it. The only thing, the car thing, I don't care. But I drive a banger for the rest of my life. It doesn't get me going. But even the watch, you said, like, that's an investment. Even though you don't want to say it, like, that thing will appreciate if you look after it.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. It's something it's nearly like, I'm reading so many books at the minute. I was on holidays with Ashley, my girlfriend, and like, I was drawn in. If you spoke about deep stuff, I read this book about a DJ that became a crack or meth addict or total drug addict. And I was like, okay, I read all of his luxury stories and purchases, and he was wearing outfits that were like $5,000 per day. But he had no real teeth in his mouth, and he was like a crackhead, but he was in Gucci clothes, and he had a watch that I couldn't even ever afford probably. And he was like, he still felt like he was fine in this crazy addiction cycle. And I was like, what the hell? Like, how did he feel? He goes, he thought this label made him feel good. When we do a cut and sew launch or merch, I'm like, nobody in the world, apart from the 50 people that might buy this hoodie, will have this. And I feel just as banging in the cut and sew merch, which we've done a collaboration with Macer. We're doing it now with a guy called Gav Connell. And I'm like, that is my brand. I love Rob Lipsett when he reps Alpha Lee. I used to buy Lipsett Fitness. I remember buying out, a little tanker. But now I have my own brand, and I'm like, I'm so proud. I was in Brown Thomas today, real quick. I seen a Balenciaga hoodie. I've never bought any of that brand, and I seen it, goes, I actually like the look of it. It looks wrecked and what's the word? Distressed. It looked like someone just put like shoe polish over it, and I went over and said £900. And I was, you know what? I guarantee the quality of the hoodie is good. And then I'm like that's 2 weeks wages to the general person. And it's like, if I lose it all and everything of a hoodie there, that's 2 weeks wages or 2 weeks rent or 2 weeks, whatever. I'm like, you know what? The cut and sew hoodie represents more to me than that. And we're doing a merch drop, and the hoodies are €40.
I would say, I wouldn't even call it merch. I've actually bought one of your pieces from the Dundrum store before. I'd call it apparel. Would you agree?
Apparel,
I think merch almost
devalues it
a little bit, because merch for me is people taking
everything.
They buy a really cheap like hoodie and then stick a label over it. Whereas, like, at least in the pieces that I tried from you, there seems to be a lot more thought and time that goes into each piece.
Wow.
What do you? How involved are you in that process, and like how important is the apparel to your business?
Man, you are smashing it. I'm like,
I've had 2 points. I don't know how this is going down.
We're probably not even recording, are we?
Could you imagine? No, I'm fucking horror. I've had a few horror stories of that, so it's recording.
Yeah, I would love to be like, I love Kanye West in so many ways, and then in not so many ways. And I see snippets of him working in like a ranch in, not Ohio, but Ohio's coming to mind. I think it's Wyoming or Utah.
Yeah, he loves it.
And I'm like, this lunatic, if you want to call him that, sorry if anyone's a bit of a snowflake, but I mean lunatic in a great way. I'm like, this guy is standing on the desk. He's a team of people around him, and he's just like getting what's up here into the physical world, designing shit, playing music. He is like one of the greats creatively. As we watch this documentary, might be a little bit unwell,
but probably one of the most creative people of our generation, 100%.
I don't even buy Yeezys. I actually bought fake Yeezys years ago. Funny story. Terrible fakes. But the process to me is like, it's a creative process. I used to do graffiti, and I'm not in Brown Thomas all the time. Brown Thomas is a luxury. If you're there once a year, you're lucky. And sometimes I don't even go in once a year. I like to go in a window shop. Shout out 50 Cent. But I go in and I'm like, okay, I might treat myself. It feel good. But I think people need to normalize what the brands they support. And it is important, because now that I'm in a position to create hoodies, t-shirts, apparel, everyone that has bought a t-shirt or a hoodie or a tote bag or a candle or even wax, I'm like, whoa, like, I would love to know the number of people that it has reached that has purchased something that says cut and sew on it, because it's the power of the brand And when I design a new product, I had a point before this as well, as you know. When I design a product, I sketch it out, and I have a reference, and I say, okay, and we always accredit the artist and designer. I'm like, you know, it's not really a collab. You pay them for their artwork, and because it's not, as you said, it's not merch. It's not like a contract that's, this is going to sell 100,000 globally.
But yeah, signature and blood and all that kind of shit.
Yeah, but it's so, I'm so involved in it, and it's amazing. And every time we do a merch launch, we're doing a party now with the new merch drop, and I can't wait. We're getting people together. It's going to cost us money to do the party, to get the DJs. We might get a sponsor from a couple of drinks companies or something. And I'm like, it's like a creative process that to me enriches the brand. And that's why people continue to look at Cut and Sew, I think, in a positive light, and not like other brands that have, you know, diluted themselves or become a chain. And it's, even though it's 6 shops, I don't feel like we've diluted in any way. We've enriched the brand. If
I could give you 3 cities around the world that when you're done, there's a Cut and Sew in those cities, what would they be?
New York, Spain. I don't know what city in Spain or like islands, but are we saying Marbella? Is that a city?
Yeah, I'd say so.
But that might, that screams.
If you I went to Madrid for a weekend.
I was going to say Barcelona.
Well, I haven't been to Barcelona, but Madrid was fucking beautiful. It was very New Yorky. There was like, you go down the main street, it's the big LED screens like New York. I was like, Jesus Christ, it's like a proper metropolis. So that would be
Madrid.
Yeah.
New York's going to happen actually, regardless. Like, it's going to happen if it's a Cut and Sew or a derivative of that, or like a Vision. I've so many friends and contacts there, and it's actually been spoke about so many times. It should be, like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's such an amazing story formula, and I believe we're the best at what we do. And then I'd like to keep maybe one answer, like, to, you know what, let's see where I travel next. I'm in New York in November. We might look at premises.
So you've grown up in Dublin. You've seen the city kind of grow in the last 10 years. You kind of have your finger on the pulse if you're in around the city so much. What do you make of Dublin right now as a place to live? Are you talked about other places that you're looking at, like, to travel to and stuff. Do you see yourself set like long term in Dublin, or does it kind of appeal to you to go to other places?
Myself and my partner, we live in Temple Bar. It's not pretty at the minute. Like, it's really bad. I hate to say that, but it's not the same. There's a lot of pockets of beauty, and it's grim. I'm from Dunleary, which is a beautiful south, you know, city coast, or, you know, south coast part of the city. It's beautiful. I love Dunleary. You go to the 44, you walk to Salt Hill, you walk to Booterstown or Blackrock Park is a place I keep on going back to.
Right beside my dad's house. They live just up in Booterstown Avenue.
Really?
There, so that's a local park for us, yeah.
Just down from the Punch
Bowl. My dad married into that. Don't get any. Good work, Cheese. Love you. Buyers is always land on their feet.
But yeah, I don't know. It's like Dublin. I love Dublin. Am I a patriot? Is that a good thing? Yeah, like, I'm proud to be Irish. That's why I'm massively, like, the odd time you'll catch me getting a McDonald's. You'll never catch me in Starbucks. Even if trust me, coffee. It's shy coffee. There's a couple of Irish chains that are shy coffee as well, which I won't mention.
Call them out. No, I'm taking the piss down.
But anyway, yeah, Dublin. I love Dublin. I don't know. Again, I'm mad in love. I'm found a woman that it all makes sense with. And whatever our journey leads to, I just really believe that, I feel like we could settle. I think Churchtown is beautiful. Dundrum, Dalkey is I'm mad into walking now. Dalkey, Killiney. Oh man.
It's mad when you cool down on the session a bit. You're like, well, Sunday, I guess we're going to walk again.
Yes. Yeah, you know, I used to party when I'm now out hiking. Yeah. Like,
have you done Killiney Hill ever?
I just did a few weeks ago.
One of my favourite ones to do. Killiney Hill's beautiful.
I don't know which house is Bono's, but I think I was looking over the fence.
We went, me and my missus, off topic, we went to Vico Baths just to go for a swim.
Okay.
And we went down as the first thing in the morning, go down, and like a few kids went down in front of us, and we were like, grand, head down. And then we turned the corner, and there's 2 couples, 2 blokes, 2 girls, all fully naked, like fully undressing, all the bits, a big hairy fucking thing, and that's the mots. And then So we're walking down and I'm like, yeah, I spot them first. I'm like, yeah, they're straight up naked. The kids like run past and turn back to their mum, and I'm like, yes, I feel the exact same. We turned around and left. They kind of were jumping in, and there's tits everywhere and big fucking dicks everywhere. And I was like, I'm not going to go get in. Like, would you get in? Would you hop in?
I'm not against nudism.
I think it's mad in something like that.
I wouldn't feel comfortable.
Private old spa, 100%, but not. You know, there's people coming down.
I think the Vico is like an official. Nudist.
Is it actually? Because my missus said that, and I was like, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, fuck, that's around that. Right, back to the 40 foot then.
Back to the yeah, exactly.
Wild.
Don't take your like jocks off down Sea Point or anything. You'd be arrested.
You couldn't pay me any money to get out of that Irish Sea fully naked and be like,
maybe Starbucks could. Yes.
Yeah, no shit. I guess as we're kind of, what time are we at? No, we're still okay. In terms of your work life now, people don't always talk as much about the kind of negatives and the sacrifices they made to kind of get to where they are. What are some of the sacrifices you made?
You are killing it. I just like, what? This should be like a part 1, part 2.
Chat GPT questions.
What sacrifices have I made? And I actually would love. These are questions that I would have liked to have written down to be asked.
But sometimes it's nice that you don't get to think of it before, because then it's sorry, my camera just died. I'm just going to reset that.
No.
Think about it.
Yeah, no problem. Are we still rolling with
vocal? Yeah, we're vocals. Vocals never stop.
The sexy vocals. Think about it. What have been some of the sacrifices? Oh, this sounds very sexy.
What, you vocals?
No, just like, welcome to this podcast. Dangerous with Focus.
Solo podcasts.
It sounds crazy.
If you ever want to have a good laugh, listen to some of my solo podcasts. I'll never delete them, but holy shit, that was some fucking.
Some of the sacrifices I probably have made, when I really think of, when you hear this quote that you need to sacrifice yourself for 5 years. Like, Gary, fucking just do it, bro. Fucking do this. You need, I think, if you sacrifice for 5 years, no social events, worked 6 days, 16 haircuts every day, and then some, and then do the socials, and then do the business side of things, and then network. And I remember doing that, 10 years ago. I was 26. I used to DJ in Joe Burger or Crackbird, and I'd be getting 70 quid for like 4 hours. But when I was there, I was networking. Here's my business cards. Oh my God, Sean, good to see you. Have you any appointments? I remember like no social media, no business cards. Actually, probably I was like 1-to-1 meeting the people on the street, screaming about, come in to me for a haircut. Come in to me, and I would go out and I would DJ and I would be social and I go into work, and I had youth on my side, so I could probably not be hungover, but I could be out and a bit groggy, and I'd have to do 16 haircuts the next day. And I would not, anyone that I was around, like, I can't work. Saturday is such a big day. I work for myself, by myself. I can't do it. And my first wedding was in, I think it was in COVID. I had 2 weddings during COVID, and it was the first time that I ever went to a wedding, because everyone was like, Sean, they knew the story that I was such a hard worker that I couldn't take it off. So I was only ever invited to the afters. So I'd never been to a wedding actually, and no one in my immediate family is married anyway, and I'm the eldest of 6 boys. So I was like, yeah, your fucking parents worked hard. I'd say, Jesus Christ, 6 blokes. It's just me and my brother, and my mum's worn out, like, so. But yeah, so yeah, a lot of sacrifice. Nothing, as I said, 1 or 2 holidays a year. Like, you get 6 weeks holidays a year if you work for a company, like with bank holidays and your holidays. And I'm like, people don't really maybe see that side of it. So I'm like, would you do 50 weeks doing 6 days a week for 5 years? For years, yeah. To be successful? And the answer a lot of the time is probably no, and that's an amazing question. Or it's yes for a couple of months, and then you're like, Jesus Christ, and it's a Wednesday, and you're like, holy shit, it feels like I've been working for 8 years, and I'm like, maybe you're not excelling at the speed you thought, and you're like, fuck man, I'm gonna have to double down here and keep grinding even more. And that's where people, like, not stopping is the only way to not stopping, man. I want to get into a little bit as we kind of wrap up. It's 2 things. I'll start with this. I noticed your tattoos. Yeah. You see a lot of barbers now, they're, it's doubling as
piercing, it's doubling as tattoos, it's doubling as a cafe. Do you have any vision of Cut and Sew, you know, having a tattoo shop downstairs you could go in? Or
No.
you're barber straight up?
Straight up, no. It's funny enough, I had a client, my last client yesterday is a tattoo artist in a spot that has shut down the barbering, and for a long time they're super successful now in the tattooing, that none of the guys there want to. It's there's too many options. I love a separate coffee shop. I think that's something that's gonna happen because I love coffee. My dad obviously is just retired. He's a phenomenal pastry bakery chef, and they say don't trust a skinny chef, and my dad's he's a bit of a Ned Kelly on him.
I like that.
And I don't want to mix what it is. It's easy, I think, to grab something from every industry, but I actually think it dilutes the core value. And look at the success we have with just being a barbershop. And it's funny that you say that, because now I being offered from multiple other businesses like hairdressers, piercing, coffee shops, blah blah blah. So now there's no desire to open up something within Cut and Sew other than cutting hair.
What's your favorite dish your dad would cook for you?
He does a roast chicken with this crazy homemade sauce, roasted vegetable, roast potatoes, and like this mental creamy mash. It's rare that it happens, but yeah, he does it once or twice a year.
That's one of my favorites, man. Or shoulder of pork or something like that. Want to finish up. What is dangerous when focused?
Dangerous when focused is, I don't know if it's a motto. It's something that was said to me, I think, or maybe I said it to old employees, that when you are in this super mode of fucking like focus, you're dangerous. If you believe in that motto or mindset, it's insane what you can achieve. And I was more dangerous when I wasn't focused, whether it be partying or missing work or missing the biggest commitments of my life because of the session, or I actively was partying like crazy. I was doing everything. I was actually more like, I was so dangerous when I wasn't focused that people used to say to me, oh my God, Sean, when you're focused, you're fucking dangerous. It should be called dangerous when fucking focused, but it's not very PG. So it's something that stuck with me, and some of the people who I find the biggest influences in my life, whether they're PTs, whether they're not famous, if they're in certain areas, they all say it to me. And I could name them all day, and they're like, man. So it's something that's probably bigger than Cut and Sew, if I believe it. And it's gonna be big, and I'm gonna write a book. That's something that I just automatically am gonna do, and I'm gonna delve into that just to show people like who I am, what it means to be dangerous and focused. But I haven't really delved into, but I can actually already see on my vision board the chapters. And it just means anyone that really focuses on one thing can be fucking dangerous. So I don't know if that answers the question, but
it does. And I'd be excited to read that book. Would you try and write it yourself, or would you try and get like someone to come in? Yeah, good man. Good man. I think that'd be great. Listen, I don't want to take up, it's fucking nearly 10 o'clock on a Friday. You've got better things to be doing.
Not at all.
What's your plans for the weekend? And we'll wrap it up.
Plans for the weekend are I'm working tomorrow. I've a one-to-one coaching session in the morning. I have a couple of haircuts then in the early afternoon. Then I have a one-to-one business Zoom with a client from the UK. Then I have a staff member leaving, so I'll have to buy him a pint or two. Then I'm meeting up with one of my business partners for a quick catch-up, pint or two. Then chilling Sunday with my girlfriend. We're going to see the Goonies in the Stella. I love the Stella. And then Sunday afternoon from 2 o'clock until who knows when, I'm free to maybe have pints, to chill, sit at home, watch probably, what's that TV show? I fucking love it. Come dine with me, order a pizza, and then it's Monday again.
I love it, man. I love it. You haven't seen Oppenheimer yet, have you?
I have.
What do you think?
Row one.
Stella. You were up.
No, I was in
Cineworld.
I went to IFI. IFI were like, you booked the Lighthouse. Went to Lighthouse. They were like, there's no seating for you and your two mates.
In the Cineworld.
In the Cineworld, front row, nightmare.
Load of kids.
No, just front row.
It's too long, this movie.
It's
it is
long. It's great. But it's
a
movie
great
season now. I can't wait. There's so many movies I want to see, so I'm buzzing for cinema season.
Beautiful, man. Look, thank you so much for taking the time. I genuinely do appreciate it. I'd love to do this again. Love to see you set up your own podcast and you know, just tell more of the stories, man. I feel like we could have gone for another 2 or 3 hours. So really appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll have you back again.
Legend,
Lads,
thank you very much.
I don't need to tell you, cut and sew you need to get a cut in Dublin if you're ever fortunate enough to grace this city. Cut and sew is your place to go for a fresh trim, okay? And yeah, I'll see you all next time. No idea who's coming next, but it'll be someone. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace. Lovely, bro. Thank you so much.
Man, that was beautiful.